Panther Nation, the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time. Putting the work in as a team. Like I said, man, I'm just glad to be with the guys.
My favorite night of the week.
We're going to go out there, and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win. Because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to win.
This embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep pounding. That's what we do. What I'm saying?
Hey, what's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. I do it with my homeboys each and every week. Joe Riolano's here, and Mel Mayock is back in the house. Welcome back, Mel.
Hey, Professor, it's good to be back, man. It's been a long time, real long time, so it's good to be back.
Joe, how are you down there in the up and down low country?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing great. Ready to talk some Panthers. Season's over, but hope reigns supreme.
Yeah, no doubt. At tonight's episode, Mike Shula's axed. That's big news. Just happened today. It's episode 17.49. 49 shows deep. Wish we could have said 52. If we would have done 52, we would have been in the Super Bowl. Right? But we got to 49, so that's better than ending at 48 or earlier and just giving up. But we've got plenty to talk about. Yeah, it is.
A lot of seasons where you're not relevant after Thanksgiving, So
yeah, that's a great point. Is that you want to be relevant at the very least. We made the playoffs. That's the next step, and you want to progress. That's the next step further. And the Panthers are progressing. They fired Mike Shula today. Semi-stunning news, I guess, is stunning that it actually finally happened to some, and to others, it was stunning that Ron Rivera said he wasn't going to do it, and he did it. But we called it, or at least I called it here on the C3 Podcast. Not that I really know anything, but I felt like it was going to take a lot. There was going to be a fall guy at some point, whether he's a real fall guy, a patsy, or deserved. It had to happen nonetheless. We'll be talking about that news tonight, plus the Panthers' loss to the New Orleans Saints in the wild card round, and what should have, could have, and would have been a win had a lot of different things happened that we will talk incessantly about tonight. We'll talk about the future of the organization, how changing gears and this fresh new perspective that Ron Rivera has called for. Who could it be, and does Ron Rivera, the not-so-riverboat Ron, we know he's not. It's like a pseudonym. It's not real. It's an alias. It's a pen name. That's not true.
Alter ego. It's an alter ego that rarely rears his head.
That's exactly right. We'll see if he has the gumption to hire somebody that can really give a fresh new perspective, or he just brings in another act that's about the same as the last. So we'll talk all about that tonight. We appreciate everybody for joining the show. You can tweet us using at @cat_chronicles. We appreciate the follow. We appreciate everybody on YouTube and all of you who contribute to the cat calls at 252-228-5098. Anybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, give us a retweet, a like, a thumbs up, or whatever that platform calls for. All right, fellas. Mike Shula got the axe today. Who here was surprised?
I'll tell you, I was surprised that Shula was canned after Rivera got his extension, right? I mean, usually the only time Ron is riverboat is when his back's against the wall and the game's on the line. Here he gets an extension. I thought to myself, hey, it's going to be status quo. So I was surprised when it came down today.
Joe, does this surprise you, or did you see it was the writing on the wall?
Well, I felt that, I'll say initially I felt that if we didn't get out of the first round of the playoffs, a wild card, changes were going to happen. And I will say this, much like Aaron, though, once the re-signing happened, I really did think, okay, well, maybe it's not going to happen, especially after Rivera said he didn't anticipate any changes being made to the coaching staff. Really, I was like, okay, so we got another year of this. So, yeah, I guess I was surprised.
You know, it wasn't surprised in it happened. We needed it to happen. I think fresh perspective is the right term to bring to the table when it comes to that. I think I raised this or tried to make this analogy last week, is that Cam Newton's a gem, right? And gems, they take a little polishing at times. And the more you polish Cam Newton, the finer of a piece, the more rare of a gem he can be. And I think that the stone that was Mike Shula, or the polishing cloth that was Mike Shula, had done everything that it could in this case. And we got the most. I think the most out of Mike Shula was 2015. And that's that's the absolute ceiling. Sure, it was a lot, but he got a lot of help that year too. You got a Panthers defense that led the league. I think they had 39 interceptions that year.
I don't know. They were the number one ranked offense, though. You know.
Well, they were the number ranked scoring offense. They were not number one in yards. They benefited from good field goal position, a great scoring defense. I don't know if you remember that Dallas Cowboys game on Thanksgiving, but the Panthers defense scored more touchdowns than the Panthers offense did. And obviously, you know, when your defense is playing that well, sometimes your offense doesn't need to play all that well. But they did benefit from a good defense that year. An opportunistic defense turned into an opportunistic offense. And that was lightning in a bottle. And I think that while we can clap about that for Mike Shula, right, we should celebrate the 2015 as his greatest accomplishment. We also have to look at the other seasons surrounding him. You look at 2014, 2016, 2017. I think he took over in 2013. 13, 14, 15, 16, right. 17. And really, we have only been an efficient or a kind of a vigorous offense in 2015. Other than that, we've had some issues. And while they may not all fall on Mike Shula, I do believe that we've kind of, at some point, a little change could be good for an organization. And this may, Ron Rivera may need that change too. Ron Rivera might need a personality that can balance, that can contribute and elevate his as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's the best thing about this is just time for a change. It's time for a breath of fresh air. I mean, Shula's been a part of this offense for 7 years, 5 years as offensive coordinator. And I personally don't think he's as bad as people say on Twitter. I think he's a little bit of a whipping boy. I mean, if people make their plays, if they catch the ball, if they make their blocks, if they do what they're supposed to do, the coordinators look a lot better than they are, and vice versa. So I think he's a little bit of a whipping boy, but after 7 years, time for a change, man. Get some fresh air in there and just see. But what's critical is who is next. And I think we got to be patient too, because even if it's Norv Turner or if it's Joe Schmo that we've never heard of, I think we need to take a little bit of patience. I got a feeling knee-jerk reactions are going to be coming. I mean, that's just kind of the way of the sports fans. But I want to hear what the plan is. I want to hear what they want to do, how they're going to do it, and why everything's coming together the way it is.
All right. Question on that. Ron Rivera mentioned this plan. I don't buy it. Unless the entire plan is just Norv Turner and he's already been backroom dealing the whole time.
Right.
Because he said yes that he did not come to this decision prior to this morning at 3:15 a.m., which is malarkey. Come on. That's bullshit.
I know, right?
Is that, and not that, I mean, he's got to say stuff like that, but we all know it is, because he didn't want to come out and make it go, well, we lost yesterday. and now we're firing Mike Shula, and I don't want to look like a scapegoat, or I'm scapegoating this dude.
In the press conference, he did say, he was up at 3 o'clock in the morning and, had the pen and notepad and was writing things down and went back and looked at some of the, I guess, notes he had taken during the course of the season. And I think, I believe him when he says, I finally made the decision this morning. But I do believe at the same time he's been considering this for some time. I don't think he just woke up this morning and said, okay, well, I'm going to let him go. I think he thought in his head, we have to make a change. A change has to happen somewhere. And we tried doing it with Mike Shula, but it didn't work.
See, so I have visions of him sitting around 3 o'clock in the morning drinking a Bud Light, watching a Dilly Dilly commercial, and just making a decision and changing things on the fly.
Dilly Dilly.
Right. Well, I'm saying I think it's been happening for a long time. I think.
Yeah, that's where the plan. That's where the plan has to be. Joe's right about this. Is that he can't. He was in the midst of making the decision yesterday. He hadn't fully committed to it. He basically is meaning that he didn't inform Mike Shula yet.
And I got to give you props, Professor. For everybody out there, the professor was sending Joe and I a text during the game talking about how he felt like Shula's job was on the line. And some of the he said, hey, that right there is probably going to help him, but I think it's probably too late. So you were calling it on Sunday. So kudos.
Well, we talked a lot about it in the last couple of oh, look, there's P Nasty joining us. Is that we talked about it in the last couple of weeks, and we thought that it was going to take a lot to save it. And I tell you one thing is that, man, did he really, to give Shula some credit, if he would have done stuff like he was doing in the second and third quarters of that game all season long, he would still have his job. He was throwing some formations. He was throwing some movement in there. So he really had some different things we had not seen all season. But he just had the feeling that was all he had. Hey, if you can't do some of those things in the season, it was because you've been working on them so long you had to keep them. They were your secret. We've got P Nasty. Willie's here. What's up, my friend?
What's up, y'all? What's going on, man?
Man,
what's happening?
Are you excited? Do you think that the Mike Shula firing was the right move?
The Mike Shula firing and Ken Dorsey, let's not leave out Ken Dorsey, was an outstanding move. This move is a year or two way late. So yeah, I'm very excited about it, and I'm excited about this whole offseason, to be honest. But yes, that Shula firing and Dorsey firing was good.
Really, I think maybe the bigger name.
I mean, this is the biggest offseason since 1995. Let's face it.
This is going to be a huge offseason for us. And I think it's going to be
crazy.
I think it's good.
I hope we can get an owner. I mean, the fact that we're changing ownership is enormous right there. Yeah. Then nobody's safe. Coach, management, I don't believe anybody's safe if you get a big enough owner in there. Yeah. But on top of that, I do think, like P Nasty said, is that we have to remember too that he said that Ken Dorsey is gone as well. And to me, this is something that I was calling for a long time ago. Yes. And I thought that Ken Dorsey did not have the experience nor the age difference to coach Cam. I felt like that Ken Dorsey was too much of a peer to Cam, and not as a peer as in he had ever accomplished anything that was in the same breath as Cam. But, I mean, it's like this is like the 29-year-old kid telling the 27-year-old kid at work what to do. Right. And, you know, there is a difference there. You are the coach. but we don't know how we didn't see a good football career out of him. They did say this, is that they do say those who can't do teach. So maybe that lends to that. But then on top of that is that, like, if you're not a great player, and you don't have a lot of experience, how do we know if you're really doing the right things? And it doesn't seem like Cam responded to him. I think we need to get an older hat in there at quarterbacks coach and a younger, more kind of creative mind at offensive coordinator. So then the quarterbacks coach can bring the wisdom, the calmness to the situation, while the offensive coordinator can just try to scheme and use Cam as like a queen on the chessboard.
Now, the word on the street, though, is if Norv Turner is the guy, that he's going to be bringing in Scott Turner as a quarterback's coach. That would be four.
I do not want Norv Turner.
That would be four. I think Pete Nasty wants it.
I've been wanting Norv Turner for years, and I think so have Ron. I think when Ron got here, he wanted Norv Turner, but we settled for Chud, and Chud was a beast his first year, and I think Chud, that first year, ran the kind of offense we expected from a Norv Turner. Then it went to a spread his second year. I think this is going to be a damn good move, but go ahead, guys.
I like the offense Chud ran his first year. I thought that fit us perfectly. But
yes.
We also had two good tight ends.
When we lost Shockey, we didn't have another tight end that was a threat. We only had Greg. So, I mean, God, if we were to pick up like a Gronkowski, I'd love to go back to that.
Yes, Joey.
So
tell him, Joey.
I think that
Norv.
Yeah, he was the first two seasons. The offense was not the problem in season 2. I don't believe. I think that was Sean McDermott's first year as a coordinator in 2012, Joey, and that's when you were calling for his head, I believe.
And hey, let's don't forget, we're going to need a defensive coordinator too. It looks like.
No, I don't believe it.
Oh, I guarantee
you never know.
He's got three interviews this week. There's no way he's coming back.
They're silly if they hire him. That's a silly move. You hire Wilkes this early, I think.
I agree.
I like him. I like Wilkes.
I'm gonna say this much: Dave Gettleman knows Wilkes. It's not like a guy that he's worked with him. He know exactly how his work ethics are, and that could definitely happen. Damn.
All right, so. Now that let's talk about this Norv Turner thing for another bit, is that if this truly is, it seems like many people are describing this as a foregone conclusion. Now, I think I am against it. I think that Norv Turner's scheme is dated. I think that I think it was innovative 15 years ago. 20 years ago.
Yes. Agreed.
But the fact is that now he's, when he made his bones, he was a younger, more aggressive dude in a league that wasn't doing those type of downfield options.
Right.
Now, those downfield options do play to Cam Newton's strengths. So that is one good thing. But what we need is a person that can bring that dynamic, but to bring something new, to put a healthy new spin on it. And I don't know if a 65-year-old coach who quit his last job is necessarily the right guy for that job.
I don't like the man. I mean, I think he was a great offensive coordinator with the Cowboys. He's had success with other offenses. But I just don't think he's the guy for us. I don't like him. I don't think he's the guy. I like Mike McCoy.
Tell us why, Joe.
I think he's a relatively young man. He's had head coaching experience. He's had offensive coordinator experience. I like the system he runs. He was he was the coach of the Chargers, and they had a pretty successful offense while he was there. Of course, they had good players too. That always helps. I think he could come in and with the right players, do some really good things in Carolina. He's got the quarterback. We just need to bring a little more help for Cam.
Go ahead, P. Nasty.
I think he fits perfectly. I feel like I don't think he's outdated. I mean, there's a lot of offensive coordinators right now out there old. Not every offensive coordinator out there is 30 years old. There's a lot of offensive coordinators old. I think his track record speaks for himself. And North Turner as a head coach is terrible. He's too soft, and his team ended up being soft. But I think in North Turner as an offensive coordinator, there's no argument on North Turner's capabilities as an offensive coordinator. And he haven't had a Cam. I mean, like I said, in Cleveland, he had Jason Campbell, Campbell was looking good. But then he got hurt, and then you had to do Whedon and Brian Hoyer and those bums. And then he went to Minnesota with, the quarterback situation they have over there, I don't think it's all that good. Now, they had some times where they was looking good, too. But, players getting hurt and this, that, and the other. I think when he come over here, Greg Olsen fits him to the T. Funchess fits him to the T. The power runner style, he's really good with scat backs. He fits to the T. We kind of run a 2 tight end offense. We just don't have the second tight end do a lot of receiving routes, and I think he could bring that to the table. I think he fit. Now, he's not the only fit. He's not the only offensive coordinator, but, people making it seem like Shula was better and all. I think North Turner fits to the T.
And let's face it. I think.
I'm sorry. Let me say Mike McCoy is out of the conversation. I didn't realize he's coaching in Denver. I thought he was available.
I think he got fired in Denver. I think Denver fired him, but I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure he did too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He was the offensive coordinator, but of course their offense wasn't that great either. If you just
it was, but that might be a personnel issue too.
Right, and see that's kind of my point. A lot of times the performance at the end of the day is personnel related. So I think the moves that we make in the offseason are going to dictate how good our offense is, even more than whether it's North Turner, Mike McCoy, or Aaron Ford. I'll throw my hat in the ring. Right. I mean, why not? P. Nasty, I'll hire you as the quarterback's coach, man.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Aaron Ford.
I'm looking after you.
All right, there was one name of a guy that I'm interested in who just interviewed for the Chicago Bears head coaching job. Now, that has been now given to Matt Nagy, who was the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. But his name is John DeFilippo. And he's the quarterback's coach from the Philadelphia Eagles. He does have a long history, or he's been in the coaching game for 15 years. He coached Carson Wentz. I saw another guy mention that he contributed to Derek Carr's rookie year, I believe, where he was really good. And he mentioned one other individual that he developed as a potential guy, and you look at how far Carson Wentz has come so quickly, and Carson Wentz has a lot of the tools that Cam Newton has. Big body, big arm, mobile enough. Cam is like Carson Wentz is kind of like a Cam Newton light. Like he's the Miller Lite of Cam Newton's, and
that's true. And hey, I'm going to agree with you. I think that would be a great hire. I think he's a hot name for a head coach. Mm-hmm. So I think the chances are slim, and not to be Debbie Downer here, but I think Joe Person brought it out that, and I think he's right on the money, that Ron Rivera doesn't have a track record of hiring folks that he doesn't have a tight relationship with. And I don't think he has a tight relationship with him.
Well, he hasn't hired many people at all, has he?
Well, his whole staff he brought on.
Yeah, Wilkes and those guys, McDermott, are guys he worked with in other capacities. Right. Like I think go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I mean, he's got a relationship with Turner. He's got a relationship with McCoy, so McCoy could be in play for sure.
Yeah,
right.
I think
I wanted to say that Mike McCoy made a statement, and this is why I'm hearing. He was talking about when the Broncos beat the Cowboys. He said we should have put up 50, look, I want to score every single time we have the ball, and then I want to score some more. That's my mentality. That's how I approach it. And that's the guy I want coaching my offense.
What year was it he was here?
That was the Jake Delhomme year. I think one of the last. He was with Jake Delhomme.
Like McCoy.
Mike McCoy.
He was our
Oh,
offensive
wow.
coordinator for a while. Yeah.
That's
he was
right.
he was our quarterback's coach. He was our quarterback
Quarterback
coach.
coach. I'm sorry. Right.
All right, so
I like Mike McCoy.
yeah, is that I think that, you know, and that was a name that you were saying a lot last year too, Willie, is that you've been, so that's been a name that you've been putting out there. And I think Joe Person is right. Even if he's not, even if it's not about, I don't think Ron has the guts to hire somebody radical that he doesn't know. That he already brought up this, is that he wants to make sure that that guy basically appreciates clock management, ball control, and power running.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
that placates to the defensive nature that he has. Joe, I'm getting a little feedback on your end.
For me?
Yeah, I think so.
It's fixed now.
All right. It's better. All right. So, but the point that I'm making is that I don't think Ron Rivera really has the gumption to go out there and hire a DeFilippo or somebody that's going to try to radically change things, to be honest. I think Norv Turner is the guy, because he refers to him, he believes in his offensive capability and ability. He's familiar with him. He has a relationship. And I think to him, it would be an easier transition. And one that is also, we have to think this too. And I thought about this, and I don't know if anybody else has mentioned this, but, you know, Ron Rivera signed a 2-year extension, but you're getting a new GM, you're getting a new owner. His butt is not guaranteed to be there long. You don't want to bring in necessarily a guy who might look better as an interim if things start bad, if things don't go great right away. So Norv Turner might be that kind of in between, a guy that's really good, got a pedigree, but maybe a little too old to pass the baton to later on for a head coaching job.
I tell you another thing I like about the Norv Turner thing is, you know, he's not going to get a head coaching job anytime soon. You know, more than likely he won't. You know, we get an offensive coordinator. I'm not saying to not get a better offensive coordinator, but the point I'm making is, you get an offensive coordinator, we have one good year, and he's gone. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure we'll have some kind of stability with Norv at least 2 to 3 years. Definitely.
What do you think, Mel? Because you mentioned this earlier, is that you mentioned that you believe that Shula has been a whipping boy. And it's true. You know, the offensive coordinator is an easy guy to go after. You know? But going back to something that Bill Voth said on this podcast in this must have been 2014. One of the earlier shows of the season. And he mentioned that Mike Shula's offensive system did not leave a lot of opportunity for mistakes, a lot of wiggle room. It was kind of predicated on things going right, and that you're trying to reduce possessions rather than increase them. You're trying to play this long game. But when things don't go well, it's kind of hard to adjust and catch up. So we saw that continued to pan out. But we also, you know, the offensive coordinator is an easy target. What could have Mike Shula done better, do you think, in your opinion, Mel, that is realistic?
Well, some of the things that frustrate is 2 points I make to that, and I think you're absolutely right. And I kind of correlate that to, remember Chip Kelly's offense. Chip Kelly's offense was, you know, fast and furious, which threw the NFL, you know, off kilter. But the problem with that was, when the offense didn't go well, when they didn't execute, that meant the offense was off the field really quick, and your defense was getting tired.
Right. Right.
Right.
You got to be 4 deep on the defense to be able to run that style of offense.
Right, exactly. So, but two things about Shula's offense. One is it Shula? The biggest things I got frustrated with were the clock management at the end of halves, not kicking field goals, not going for it on 4th and 2, things like that. Which, let's face it, any offensive coordinator is playing out the playbook or executing the playbook from the head coach. So that's number one. So is that going to change under anybody else? Probably not. Second thing I would bring out, though, is I think Shula could have fed into some of the things that Cam likes to do. And, yeah, the read option and things like that are great. It's got to be a part of it. And as the year went on and as he got healthy, he did do more. But I'm saying things like, for crying out loud, how in the world is the second play of the game not a scripted play? You know? You know, you
because you got 7 yards or 11 yards on the first dang carry. They didn't think that. They thought it was going to go for 2.
But you got to have at least have contingencies. So
run it back.
Exactly.
But my point is, I mean, you got to have some foresight, and you got to do what Cam Newton does well. Let him go out and run some up-tempo type of offense. Sending him back there and letting him decompress and not use his energy doesn't play into his game. But having a no-huddle offense for at least stretches at a time, and why not have a no-huddle offense your first 10, 15 plays of the game? That type of thing absolutely could be incorporated.
No defensive substitutions that way. Some different things you can take advantage of. You don't want to play scared. And I think that I did hear a couple of things. The opposite side of the coin in that, for instance, in that New Orleans game is that you don't run up-tempo there because you don't want to extend the game. You don't want more play. You want to keep their offense off the field.
But you can run up-tempo or a no huddle without going too far up tempo, right? I mean, you can take the play clock. You can take the play clock down, but be at the line of scrimmage so they can't do those substitutions.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I think that for me, what bothered me the most with Shula is I don't think he truly knew how to get the most out of the guys that he had on his roster.
That's all on the offensive coordinator. But go ahead, Professor.
Yeah. It goes back to this, is that we made a mistake by drafting Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess as a pair. They didn't complement each other well. Yeah. But part of the reason they didn't complement each other well is because we couldn't figure out how to make it work.
That's the problem right there, and that's on the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I agree. That comes down.
I'm gonna tell you my problems.
You see this. You see this in a couple of different areas. You saw we saw Christian McCaffrey get a lot of touches this year, but the actual contribution was not as much as the touches indicate. You see him. You saw some things that if you look back now. Granted, has he had the most talent in the league? No. But at the same time, he's got to play the hand that's dealt to him. And I think the thing that gives it away the most is the leap that Devin Funchess took after Kelvin Benjamin's departure, because it showed that they were using Devin Funchess inappropriately. And that then when you used him in a place that he could flourish more, and this is to your point, Aaron, or Mel, should I say, is that play to Cam's strengths a little bit more. Right. And I felt like you always had the wrong dudes running the wrong routes. I was like this, why is Devin Funchess running the 9 and Curtis Samuel running across the middle, trailing across the middle? I just couldn't figure that part out, and I think that shows what we get with. I think we saw the best of Mike Shula, and there's limitations there.
I think this. I think Cam covered a lot of Mike Shula's deficiencies, man. I don't think we played enough players to their strength. I can't stand the inconsistencies. And there's no adjustment at all. If a team figures us out, we are figured out for the whole entire game. There will be no changes at all.
Yeah, no, that's where I do like the idea of North Turner, because you heard Ron Rivera at some point he said something about, man, you could just listen to North Turner and you just continuously learn about offense. The guy knows it all. So the question is, will he adapt it, and will he be able to make adjustments? I think he's got the mind to do it. But at the end of the day, guys, I think no matter who it is, I'm going to back it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a chance because we have to. And, we're just going to have to see how it plays itself out. But we got to trust Ron because he is our coach and our guy. And if he fails, if he brings in a guy who bombs, well, then Ron will be gone.
Yep. And he know that.
Yep.
They all know that. They all know that. We don't have an owner right now. Well, we in transition to a new one. These guys can't slack up.
That's right.
No time for experimentation.
Yeah, I think too is that I think that something that you mentioned is that I truly believe that the quarterback's coach is going to be a critical component of this whole scheme. Is that cannot be undersold of how we talk about all the time about how like Matsko is a genius, or how or Ricky Prohl got so much out of these guys. Diminishing the role of the quarterback's coach in a way is probably a foolish thing to do. So I'm going to say this is I believe that you bring in an older hat, almost like a Steve Logan. I know nobody knows who that is, but if you're from ECU,
you know what? That would be awesome. That would, and that's coming from a state guy. So he is known to be able to take some talent and make it better.
Dude, he coached Jeff. He coached Jeff Blake and David Garrard.
Yeah,
at a little school.
Brilliant.
And I think that would be a great fit for him. And because he's old enough, he drinks wine and listens to jazz. Like, it's not like Cam Newton and him are going to relate over the latest whatever his name. Who's that guy that played the halftime show last night that wasn't in the building? Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. How you have a halftime show and it ain't even in the stadium? I saw one person tweet, that's not a halftime show, that's a concert. All right, so I think that we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure we'll be seeing some news, but more than likely it's probably going to be Norv Turner. And Joey, you mentioned that you guys mentioned there's 4, that would make 4 Turners on the staff.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's that called? Isn't that what is it called when you
nepotism?
Nepotism. Yes, thank you. That's a little scary there, but I guess you just turn it into the Norv Turner franchise with Ron Rivera driving the car, the Norv Turner family in the station wagon.
That's right.
Just to throw this out there, Mike McCoy was with the Panthers from 2000 to 2008.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
He did come up.
Yeah.
He was the quarterback coach for a long time.
Passing coordinator. Yeah, that was one of his titles.
Oh, that's right. We had a running game coordinator and passing game
coordinator / quarterback coach.
He was there with Dan Henning, right? I believe.
I think so.
Yep.
I like Dan Henning. I think he got the bad rap, but yeah. Jeff Davidson was trash.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
All right. Was that the guy that was the offensive lineman? That was
Cleveland Browns for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this game a little bit.
I want to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
I'm looking for an offense where the running game isn't your damn quarterback. I don't mind him being a wrinkle in it, but we don't have one unless, and there's ways to work around when your offensive line ain't the greatest. We can see it.
How is Nasty? How is it you got 3 All-Pros in the interior of your line, but yet you cannot run the ball outside of your quarterback?
I think that is I think it's a question that nobody truly wants to answer, because I think that the answer is that it's not as good as you think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But it's also you don't run the right stinking formations. Alex Armah shows some real potential, and then you pull him out and you run man hurts back there.
Dude, what was that, man?
Yeah.
Hey, that's a problem I have with Shula. Sometimes he'll come up with some really creative plays, but then he won't go back to it.
The only time he adjusts is when things are going well.
Or he'll go back to revert.
He don't make no adjustments when they go bad.
Well, exactly.
I think you're right, Joey. I think you saw it in that Saints game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing some crap that he had like 4 people in the backfield. I was like, what is going on? This dude is really fighting for his job. Motioning dudes. He was doing double little motions. People were like doing little figure 8s in the backfield and stuff. But here's the thing is that we had a quarterback. Our quarterback was our leading rusher and our leading receiver was our running back.
Running back, right.
And then look, you can talk about continuity of a line as being a problem, and that reflects on Norwell and Turner. Williams played very well this year, though. Mm-hmm. So right now, it looks like the Khalil brothers are the problem.
Sometimes there's some games that he look okay.
Yeah, there were some times where he was, at least a little above average, and really all you need is for him to be like a 10 to 15 rank type of a left tackle.
He's trash, dude. I'm on the other side of the field now. I was trying to like him. He's not strong enough, dude. He's not strong enough.
When an opposing player calls him, I can't remember his name. Let's just call him Speed Bump Khalil.
No.
You got a problem.
God, Cameron Jordan was talking shit about everybody, asshole.
Next year, man. I hope he comes back and has an all-pro year next year.
Well, something. You know what else? If that doesn't fire him up, Joey, he should just go Twitter search his own name.
Yes.
And the problem that I had with Khalil, and obviously Matt Khalil, I think that Ryan Khalil is. I think he might retire.
He probably should.
Yeah, Tony, I think what? Go ahead.
Did you see what Carlton Davis said in the chat room?
I did not.
He said, Steve Logan has a show here in Raleigh where I live, and he always says that if he could get his hands on Cam, that would be his dream because of the ways he could use Cam.
Telling you.
Now the professor's not going to let this one go now. He's going to be like a dog with a bone.
I mentioned this. I was on this train in 2014. I let Mike Shula go in 2016 because of 2015.
I'm going to agree with you, man. I'm going to agree with you.
Let's start hashtag bring Logan to Charlotte. Or
even if you bring in Norv Turner, but you bring in Logan as the QB coach.
I think it should be give Logan a Cam. Hashtag give Logan a Cam. Because he could. And here's the thing is Logan has the balls on him to be. You can make him offensive coordinator. I tell you one thing, you would love it. I don't know if it would work, but your ass would love it because he would be like, Cam Newton is going to have 400 yards passing and 200 yards rushing in this game, and it's going to be offense all day, baby. He's like, we ain't punting. We're going for it.
Let's start a campaign.
Yep. Hashtag give Logan a Cam. All right, let's talk about this game for a minute. Guys, it felt like at halftime it should have been 28-7 Saints. But somehow the Panthers were in this game. Kicking field goals like they're going out of style, except for the one damn one that you missed. That's the closest. The Panthers defense came ready to rumble, and they put that team in a position to win in the beginning. They did. But you knew this is that they could not keep that pace all game.
But now Cam played a really clean game.
Oh, Cam Newton was sensational.
Yeah.
Sensational. So, at halftime, though, where did you guys feel we were at?
I was afraid. I thought it was going to get worse.
Yeah, you were looking at that first possession, and you're going, if we don't do something with this first possession in the second half, this is going to get out of control.
I mean, honestly, I was looking across that line, and I saw Brenton Burson, Shepard, and Kalen Clay out there, and I just was not very optimistic. I mean, and Funchess, he's beat up, man. And after that first 3 or 4 games where he came to life, teams looked out there and they saw Burson and Clay and Shepard, and they said, you know what, let's roll the safety over to Funchess and make somebody else beat us.
Yeah, that's all there is to it.
And they didn't even have to do that, to be honest. They got Lattimore.
I know.
You know what I mean? That's just a luxury at that point to do that. People aren't gonna like to hear this, but I think that the Saints were the better team. I think they got the better team.
They are. What do you mean? They are. They are. There's nothing wrong with saying that. They would have.
No, that's the truth. In the past, I think the Saints used to outcoach us, but we had the better team and we would pull the win out. I think now, not only are we getting outcoached, but they actually have the better team. It's just no doubt about it.
It's this year they were the better team. You go on a year-to-year basis, and this year they were the better team.
Yeah, because I think if you look at this, is that what position group do we have the advantage in? And I think it's only linebacker and defensive line.
Right, and the defensive line, by only a slim margin, this year the defensive line played very well.
Yeah, but having KK, where has anybody seen Starr?
I mean, I know he was out there, but he
right. I didn't even see him.
I wasn't looking for Starr. I was looking for Russell Shepard. Have anybody seen Russell Shepard?
He's on the back of a milk carton.
The money that was.
You know what I feel like now is all the guys I used to get mad at when we first started this, Joey, and we would first start writing about everybody and talking about all this stuff, because we're about to hit that time where we got to talk about like the little details. Like one of these times we're going to be doing a show and it's all going to be about Graham Gano. And you're going to be like, God knows. We're talking about 7th round kickers here, folks. But that's the that's the point of the season we're hitting. And we hit that point of the season and we get focused in. We used to get hyped. And I remember people like the media, Bill Voth, Person, these dudes, and they would always like scoff at us. Or not us, but like at people in these comments. And I think Russell Shepard is that one. He's the one that everybody bought into, that nobody should have believed in the first place. But I think our local media sold us a bad bag of goods this year. I think all they did was just ooze and gush about how great McCaffrey was and how awesome Russell Shepard was and how great this receiving core was and all of that. And guess what? None of that shit turned out to be true. Not a damn word of it.
You pull on the fake news card, huh?
That's right.
News, baby. Yeah, no.
I
did not expect that from Russell Shepard.
To me, the one that really bombed, the one that was really oversold, overhyped, we all drank the Kool-Aid, was David Gettleman. He's the one that brought in Khalil. He's the one that brought in Shepard. Right? So he's the one that said, I never, ever miss on a high-priced free agent, ever. What he said. And his high-priced free agent was Matt Khalil.
Man, I think
it
pains us to say this.
It's only been one season. Now,
but in Mel's defense, Joe, is that name all the players that he drafted that are on the team still.
Right. I mean, outside of KK Short.
It's KK, Trey Turner. It's KK, Trey Turner, and Starr. Shaq.
Bradbury, Worley. Come on.
Funchess.
Come on, Cleve. Funchess.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. He didn't do a terrible job.
I love Dave Gettleman. That's my boy. I wish he was still here.
Not me, man.
More important,
I miss him.
He guided us through the times when our cap was in shambles.
$16 million over. Go ahead, Joey. Get him, Joey.
Shambles, cap-wise. And he brought us through that, and nobody can take that away from him.
I think he drank his own Kool-Aid too much.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he drank his own Kool-Aid too much because I think he thought that he was smarter than everybody when it came to scouting talent.
He was not, dude. I mean, you take Benjamin over Collins, you take
Benjamin over Allen Robinson.
right? I mean,
I mean, a lot of people did. Now, Allen Robinson didn't go to the second round, right?
Yeah, but it was like 34. Do you remember when I was drunk as hell? How about this? When I was drunk as hell and flipped over the Kelvin Benjamin.
It wasn't perfect, but he did make some good moves for us. And the biggest thing is we were competitive when our salary cap dictated we should have sucked.
True.
I think we could have used Benjamin a little differently also. That's my opinion also. He did give us 1,000 yards, and when he played, he also gave us 900.
Yeah, Benjamin didn't suck, but then you trade up to get somebody who's just like him. He wanted that twin tower offense, and I think that was a huge mistake that set us back. Honestly, I like Funches, but you don't draft them together.
I'm gonna say something, and I know a lot of people are gonna disagree, but that formula has worked before.
Where?
Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Boldin, I know they're much better, but those guys are slower than hell. Ed McCaffrey, Rod Smith, I know they better, but
Fitzgerald is a freaking technician route runner, dude.
And he wasn't always slow.
No, he was always slow. Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey, slower than dog shit. Ike Hilliard and Plaxico Boris, slow as grandparents. And it's a bunch. It could have worked. I don't think we maximized on it. Yeah, for me, I think Benjamin, you send his ass deep more. Make him use his size more.
There could be some things on Shula there. I think. I think what ruined Dave Gettleman was that Thomas Davis turned out to have 1 or 2 more years in him than he should have. I think that if Thomas Davis would have retired and Shaq Thompson steps in to be a full-time guy, the things start to look a little different. But right now, we have 2 number 1 picks that are rotational players.
Right.
And I don't care. It just sucks. It's like the only time in the history of football having too much talent at one position has been a problem.
Hey, I'm going to say this, though. Before Dave Gettleman, while we had Marty Herney, we were trash in the defensive tackle position. It has been a nuisance for us for years.
I will give you that. The best thing he did was
Chris
that first
Jenkins.
draft. No doubt about it. Mm-hmm. That KK
Chris
Short,
Jenkins, though, was damn Marty Herney, wasn't he?
Yeah,
but we had him, and then after him, and he gained weight. We had him and Miyake, and after that, both those guys were too big, no penetration at the middle. Then we had Damian Lewis and Nick Hayden, and we went a long time.
You don't like
Sione Fua and Sione Fua, and what's the other guy?
They were drafted together.
Terrell McLean, was it?
Yeah. Yeah, McLean.
Yeah, no doubt.
That had a bunch of trash, man.
KK Short. Now you don't get a ton of credit for drafting Star at 13, though. I mean,
no,
seriously.
Of course not. At 15.
But KK was a great shot.
That was
a great pick. That was a great pick.
If Star's heart would have been fine, he would have gone top 5, they were saying.
Right.
All right, let's get back to the game real quick. Let's get back to the game real quick.
Went off on a tangent there. My bad,
let's just focus about this. Is that, look, Cam Newton came out there, and I want to give credit to Mac from the Mac Attack, who touted this. He was the one that really originally kind of brought up this stat, and it was that Cam Newton, after a bad performance, has 104 quarterback rating. And then he goes out there and has 105 quarterback rating. Cam Newton was damn dealing, bro. And to add,
one bad pass the whole game that I saw.
Yeah, and to add to how good of a performance that was, it was a come behind performance where it felt like everything you did was not enough. Right. And that is the type of game that we believe that Cam Newton mentally has struggled in.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the game. If we are the ones feeling that way, we know is that Cam has been questioned about when things don't go well, how he's responded. And he looked poised. He looked focused. He looked undeterred. He looked completely willing and ready to do every single thing that was necessary, and he was throwing damn dimes out there. He missed one pass deep to Funchess maybe. Other than that, I mean, just these passes, it was almost like, damn, Cam threw that. I mean, he had a game, maybe one of his best technical games of his careers.
I agree.
His career, not careers.
Well, yeah, that's a damn good argument considering that he was throwing the practice squad receivers, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No doubt about it.
Dropping touchdown passes, but that's neither here or there.
Yeah,
Kalen Clay, that was the one drive, Joey, right? Kalen Clay drop that then leads to a Graham Gano missed field goal. That really took the wind out of our sails, it felt like. You really start to set a tone in that game.
Right, and look, if we play this game with the receivers we had in the middle of the season, I think we win this one comfortably.
Yeah,
I agree. That's 100%. And that's a sad thing. That's where this comes back a little bit to the Dave Gettleman thing. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much. But when you can't weather injury at all at a position, that's a problem. Yeah. Like at all. And then on top of it, the guys that got injured should never have been fully counted on to be the playmakers in the first place.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We all love. Sorry, P-Nas, but we all love Damiere Byrd, but he should be your fourth wide receiver.
Right, you're right.
Yeah,
maybe
he should be the dude on the come up, not the guy that's like got to be there.
Right.
Like you can't put that kind of pressure on him.
Right. No,
it's not fair anyway.
And he can't stay healthy.
Right.
And we can't. I don't know how we could blame Dave for that because I don't think Dave would have traded Benjamin.
Right, and can you blame Shula for that?
No, can't blame Shula for that. You only can blame Shula for the play calling.
But our offense got better without Benjamin, so it doesn't mean like I don't even understand that.
I don't know if it got the running game. The running game improved, but the passing game didn't. Cam was still throwing for 130.
It did for a little while, right? And then it reverted. I mean, there were a couple games right after Benjamin left that they looked really clean and crisp, and Funchess was, had 2 games over 100 yards.
Yeah, those games that we had like damn near 300 yards rushing.
Right, and 200 of them by Cam.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could look at the stats and say, oh yeah, Benjamin. But truth be told, Cam's 2 best games he had Benjamin, right? Versus Patriots and Detroit Lions.
Well, this Saints game was probably his best, but I feel you. I mean, good points.
Statistically, I think Cam's best games is against Patriots and Lions.
Right, because he had 4 touchdowns
But the passing game never improved. It did not improve. The running game was there until we played against a team that could stop it, but Cam wasn't rushing for so much. And let's be honest, Cam had to deal with the shoulder injury and not playing any preseason and training camp.
Yep.
Yeah, that shoulder bothered him. That shoulder bothered him for the first 3 games.
Right.
I mean, it was clear as soon as that thing started getting better, he started playing a lot better and playing more confidently. But now that we did lose to the Saints, if we had won against the Saints, how really far do you think that this team truly could have gone? Because, Joey, we were not popular for saying this earlier in the season, but we came out and said that the defense is not as good as people were touting. Right. And I thought this is that if you beat the Saints, I mean, you came out there and Cam Newton dealt. He did it. I mean, you should beat them. You should win that game. You shouldn't have lost it. That's for damn sure. So it's not like you're completely an inferior team if you could beat them, which we almost did. But this is not a team that I necessarily believed had the stuff. If you have to have a magic recipe or a secret recipe to get to the Super Bowl and win it, I didn't think this team had it. And the idea is that when they started that game against the Saints, they didn't even look like a playoff team.
Yeah, I agree. I say this much about the defense. we had old safeties, right?
Yeah.
Like we typically have, because that's something we normally do. Our corners is big and allegedly physical, and they zone corners. These are zone corners, and they do offer some man. And I think we blitzed a little too much for the personnel we have. If you got young safeties that could go in there and do some man cover, like if we had a fast young safety and we had man corner, corners that's excel in man coverage, then the scheme will fit. I think the scheme kind of, didn't play to the strength of the team defensively. And I think that's where you have the inconsistencies at.
Very astute, man. I agree with you 100%.
So young at corner, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very young at corner.
Worley,
You
get to see. I mean, I see that Terrence Newman was still playing in the league last year. He's been playing in the league for dang 30 years. The whole point is that it's kind of that special mix of I've been there, seen this before, and talent. So unless you were just the most talented dude on the block, like those guys can come into the NFL and do well, right? And be a guy that you could, like Patrick Peterson, he came in from day one, was a corner from day one.
Right.
But some other guys need a little time to simmer, and it's unfair to put them in those positions a little bit. So, you didn't have a secondary that was rounded out enough, and they did make some mistakes. The defense, though, played very well against the Saints, I think, overall. They, got burnt with one play.
And
one big-ass play to Ted Ginn, man. God, Lord, man, that dude, it's almost like he plays against me. Like he goes out there and plays the game that I said he couldn't play.
You know what's funny, man? If we had Ginn this year, there's no telling how far the team would have went.
You're right.
I'm not a huge Ginn fan. I'm not saying that all of a sudden I think he's great, but he still can't catch, even though he's catching better right now.
Ed Dixon took lessons from him.
No, you're 100% right. 100% right is that it's crazy how good Ted Ginn, or how much better Ted Ginn made this team, even though he shouldn't.
Right, fact.
I mean, I guess he should make it better, but he shouldn't be. Like, this comes back to the Damiere Byrd thing, is these guys shouldn't be that important, but they were.
Unfortunately. And he never shown the ability to be able to stay healthy. And he wasn't always getting open either. I mean, to be honest, I know we all love the Damiere Byrd.
Right. You're right. You're right.
And Curtis Samuel, he looked good at some point.
He was coming on, man.
But you don't like him. You always say he made a glass.
He is made of glass. That's undisputed.
I think that's the one thing we got to clap about for Christian McCaffrey. Rookie comes in there, little baby boy comes in there, plays 16 games, never on the injury report. That's a big deal to me. I'm going to clap about that.
Man, that's without a doubt. Christian McCaffrey, the 435 rushing yards, but that man played the whole season. No rookie wall at all. I got nothing but respect. Curtis Samuel, I'm going to look at him sideways for the future because I was a David Geddes fan.
I love David Geddes back. That was my boy back in the day. He was always hurt, though. Always hurt.
Always hurt, man. So, I'm going to keep my, distance on Curtis Samuel, see how the porcelain football player come around.
All right. Joe, any observations about that game that kind of are on your mind?
Nothing that we haven't touched on.
Okay. Mel, any further observations on the game against the Saints that you would like to bring up?
Well, I thought it was a great game. I do think some of the officiating is something we could certainly talk about. But at the end of the day, when you talk about officiating, I think one thing John Fox always said that I agree with is excuses are for losers.
Right.
But they're that last drive, you certainly could talk about that with the non-call there and the intentional grounding call, as it was called.
Right.
That was awful. Because Cam has had some fourth quarter last drive magic. And
he
felt
was
like
about to have it, man. He was set up to have it. He was having the game, wasn't he?
And then that referee throws the flag for intentional grounding, and the other umpires are coming out, or the other refs are coming up to the guy saying, no, that's not right. And he called it anyway.
I know.
So,
I even thought there was a receiver close enough to call it not. Like, I mean, he was like 8 yards away, but I mean, same quarter of the field that they give to everybody else.
And Cam has been getting more benefits of calls for veteran QBs this year, but that was one that he did not get. And Tom Brady or Drew Brees would have gotten it.
Right.
Because Drew Brees grounded the ball earlier in the game and they didn't call it.
Absolutely.
I mean, they did call it once. I'm trying to think of anything else that stuck out to me against the game is that it seemed that at the most inopportune times that the offensive line failed. Is that you're looking at the game and you're going, man, these guys are playing pretty well, and then all of a sudden, what was it, Joe? You said Khalil, that was Ryan Khalil, got made a fool of in that game on that one play. You said he looked like a rookie.
Yeah, the one, it was one play in particular.
The running play?
It was a sack, and the defensive lineman shoved. He did an under, he went over him. He did the old swim move on him and just abused Khalil. I was so shocked at how bad an all-pro center could be made to look. I felt I was embarrassed for
that. Was ugly. That was ugly. It really was.
And I'm going to call bullshit on a stat, guys, is that there was a stat floating around the internet that Turner and Norwell had not allowed a sack all season.
I don't know about that.
That's what
Pro Football Focus put out.
Pro PFF.
Now, I'm going to tell you this, is that I remember that Eagles game, and I remember Trey Turner getting worked.
By Fletcher Cox.
What was his name?
Fletcher Cox.
Yeah. And I remember earlier in the season without Khalil, there were some times where Norwell, you don't want to blame it on him entirely, but, I mean, it's that side between him, Khalil, and Larson. I just feel like you got to be careful over buying into this idea that these guys are untouchable because
should we pay $10 million to keep Norwell? I don't know.
Yes.
A guard? I don't know.
Here's why.
That's a lot of job.
The way I have an argument for this is that I think that we should in free agency tackle positions that are of less monetary value in the scheme of football. So the most expensive positions are defensive end, offensive tackle, and quarterback, right? So they've got to be the most expensive in free agency. So in free agency, you try to get a safety, a linebacker, and a guard. And in the draft, you try to land marquee players at end tackle.
In that theory, but by that theory, though, you're saying don't spend big money on a guard, right? So,
well, I'm actually saying that big money on a guard is less than big money on a left tackle. Like even the most expensive guard is cheaper than the third best left tackle.
But is it worth paying $10 million for a guard when you can draft a good one?
Right. That's the only thing.
Right, and get him for $1 to $2 million, and then you got that extra $8 million to spend on an edge rusher, which we need badly because Pepper's probably not coming back.
And CD.
And one other thing I wanted to bring up about the game that I thought was quite interesting is Charles Johnson being a healthy scratch. I think that is his swan song.
Well, we could have been telling you that for a minute. Like we've been saying that for about 8 weeks on this show.
Yeah. But I haven't been on, so.
I think that one thing that continues to come back when everybody says all pro, Pro Bowl guards, this, that. Why couldn't we run the ball more effectively if that's the case?
Right, absolutely.
And that really sticks in my craw. And you could say there's the center. I don't think his left tackle. I mean, I think Matt Khalil sucks, but I don't think your left tackle is critical to your run game. We do tend to run the ball left a lot when Matt Khalil can't block for shit on the pass.
But I think we ran better when you had Arma out there and had him leading the way. I think you get that going a little bit, and you went away from
it. Yeah.
Well, we'll be anxious to see what a new offensive coordinator can do with these parts. You know, it's sad to see the Panthers season come to an end, but it does, or it did, against the Saints of all damn people.
We lost
do you guys who do you think do you think the Saints or the Falcons go further in the playoffs, and do you think they potentially meet in the NFC Championship?
Wow.
Right? Vikings and Eagles for me.
There you go.
Yeah, don't show your colors. Joe,
Man,
you think the Saints or the Falcons go further?
Saints.
I think the Falcons have an easier time of it. I think they have a better chance at winning.
I think the dang Falcons have a damn good roster, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're starting to the defense.
That is going to be one heck of a game.
Very well.
That Eagles defense against that Falcons offense, that's going to be a heck of a matchup.
Interesting. All right. Well, now we've talked to plenty, guys. Now it's time to put on a few of the phone calls from the fans. This is C3 Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can call the Cat Calls line at 252-228-5098. It's open all day, every day for you to leave your post-game, pre-game, off-season thoughts. We want to hear your opinions on the firing of Mike Shula, if we should hire Norv Turner, if Ron Rivera could possibly think outside the box. And we've got a few people that have already jumped in on that action tonight. Remember, you can follow us. Go ahead and subscribe and share this show with a friend and tell them to jump on the Cat Calls line, because this has got to be the best part of the show. So glad we do this. Let's just knock it out.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hi, what's up, Cat Chronicle crew? What's up, Tony? What's up, me, Puerto Rican Joey? This is Carlton Davis, one of your biggest podcast fans, calling today. I'm very disappointed in our loss yesterday. I think a few things, my point of view, a very BS call by the refs, saying it was intentional grounding on Cam. Our offense finally wakes up, but the defense seems to fall asleep and cost us, midway through that game, even though they did make the last three and outs on them, but they still, if they could have did that earlier, we would have won that game. Guys, I do have a question. Steve Wilkes, personally, the type of defense this guy's been running, I hope he do get the Giants job or get another job. Just leave. I mean, that coverage he plays. I mean, geez, can we get somebody that knows how to stop a predictable play? All the Saints kept running with slants, and we still acted like we were Trey Boston biting on the same play. Like we couldn't stop it. That's all the Saints receivers was catching with slant plays, and they kept catching the ball. Ridiculous. Can we get rid of? So guys, what you think? You think Wilson needs to go? Get somebody in there, a better defensive coordinator. I know this is his first time, but come on now, that's just ridiculous. He had all year season to learn how to adjust stuff. My question is, guys, you think we need a new D coordinator and new safeties? Because Coleman gotta go. I'm sorry. Coleman was good, but Coleman this year has just been sorry. Sorry tackling. Don't know how to act like he forgot how to coverage. And then Mike Adams, although he's been playing good, Mike Adams is old. Bird is not the same as he was when he was in Buffalo. And then there's the great 4-3 white guy, Colin Jones.
Oh, God, he's the worst.
Which I
beg to differ.
I shouldn't have to say anything about him. So, guys, what you think?
All right. I'm gonna give this to P Nasty. You still there, P Nasty? Talk about this.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned Wilkes. The earlier in the show, the kind of propensity he had to maybe blitz a little bit too much. I think we've had the benefit of seeing Sean McDermott's defense for 5 years and to see what can really work in a kind of Ron Rivera type model. And the Wilkes thing seemed a little discordant with what we're accustomed to. How do you feel? How do you react to Carlton's comments that Wilkes is the guy that needs to go?
He's not going anywhere. I mean, unless he gets a head coaching job. But I do agree. I mean, Wilkes is not as good as Sean McDermott. And had we had Sean McDermott this year, there's no telling how good that defense would have been. This year, we didn't look like a disciplined team like we looked in the past. We didn't look disciplined. And I don't mean players knowing what they're doing. I'm talking about the scheme to the players. Offensively, we had no direction. We had no identity. Defensively, we played against the scheme that the personnel we had. And that's the reason why everybody was looking bad. Even Luke kind of struggled because we wasn't playing the way our team is built to play, unfortunately. Yeah, we got a blitz here and there, but I think we overdid it. In
it's
a lot
an interesting
of other ways
perspective.
Too, so.
I think one thing, though, in defense of Wilkes, and not that I fully believe that he should not be a head coach yet, not because he couldn't make a good one. We don't know enough about him yet.
Yeah,
but
I agree. Definitely.
I think when it comes to the blitzing thing is that, to me, part of the idea that the reason he blitzed so much was not because he's just uber aggressive. I think that was an indication of the pressure that the front four could generate on its own. And when you have Charles Johnson out there, basically the other end, unless it was Peppers and Addison, couldn't get any pressure, and you can't run Peppers and Addison 100% of plays. So whenever any one of those guys came off, you saw a decline. And Wilkes was desperately fighting to try to find a way to manufacture that pass rush that wasn't there naturally. But I agree certainly that McDermott would have been better. I do want to give Sean McDermott more time to grow as a coordinator, though. Not necessarily. I don't know if I want him. Is Wilkes. I don't know. I hate growing pains on my team. But, Sean McDermott also struggled in his first season. He also had no parts. But here, let's keep going.
He had 9 injuries, though, his first year.
You're right.
John Beatty was out. It was a lot of injuries.
Wilkes, you think Wilkes needs to go? Do we need and knows how to turn his head around when he covers a receiver?
Carlton's still going.
Jones, which I'm not going to use.
Mike Shula all season.
Here we go.
Well,
hold on.
What's up, Tony? I've been saying fire the clown show. Mike Shula all season. Well, big news today. We finally did it. Oh, boy. I'll take that loss to the Saints every day of the week if it meant we got rid of Mike Shula. And we finally are rid of Mike Shula.
Yeah, I don't get
Next
that.
year, we're going to see a whole new quarterback, I think, in Cam Newton. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be back. Super Bowl 53. Here we come, baby. Let's go. Keep pounding.
We don't even know who he is.
AC3 Podcast and Panthers Nation. This is Brandon from California. I just wanted to start off by thanking you guys for a great season of podcasts. I've really enjoyed listening to you guys. And I wanted to say that even though it was kind of a disappointing end to the season, I was still happy to watch the Panthers get out there and really compete till the end. I think that if we're all honest, we could say that this really wasn't a Super Bowl caliber team this year. So It wasn't so much of a surprise that ultimately they didn't get to where we wanted them to. And unfortunately, with their history, it seems that they can't string together 2 winning seasons. So hopefully we don't end up 8-8 or worse next season, but we'll have to see. I saw today that Shula and Dorsey were fired, so maybe Cam will start performing a little bit better in the passing game. And that's kind of one of the main things I wanted to get to in this call was to ask, we've heard a lot of people saying we need somebody for Cam to throw to, and after watching the game and seeing receivers dropping the ball for us, but on the other side, the Saints getting receivers that seem to catch the ball, it seemed like there was something to that. But I wondered, is Cam the type of player who improves the players around him? Is he throwing a ball that's catchable? Is Drew Brees the type of guy that if you put people around him, he makes them into somebody rather than them just being somebody that doesn't quite succeed on the level that we've seen some guys that seem like they have a lot of promise with the Panthers, but then they don't really pan out. So I guess there's probably so much that goes into that about scouting and picking the right people and coaching, defenses, all that stuff. And also the last thing I wanted to get to was I saw that Ron Rivera got a contract extension. Is that something that he was personally working with, or was that something that an agent of his or something would be dealing with? Because it seemed like that's kind of a distracting thing to be dealing with a couple of days before he's about to go into a playoff game. Thanks, and keep pounding.
All right, I think that's a fantastic call there. There's a lot to unpack there. Number one, when he talked about Cam Newton versus Drew Brees making receivers better. My opinion is this, is that I think that's been a valid argument for a long time, is that Cam Newton throws a heavy ball. You kind of got to adjust to his play a little bit. But on the flip side of the coin, he's never had any talent. So he has automatically elevated everybody's game because he's taken guys that are been nobodies. I mean, Ted Ginn Jr. is the greatest example. Ted Ginn Jr., it took Cam Newton and Drew Brees to make him good. You know? I mean, it took those two guys. So I think that Cam Newton can elevate people's games. He does tend to throw a heavy ball. But we see that like certain guys thrive with him. Greg Olsen has been phenomenal with him. They've had a great chemistry. So there are some questions there. But look, is that if we're going to compare Cam Newton to Drew Brees, we're in a good situation to have, because Drew Brees is really maybe the top 3 or 4 5 quarterbacks I've seen in my life. You know, outside of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and maybe Brett Favre, maybe in my lifetime. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. He's easily in that category. So that's a good thing to have. P. Nasty, you jump in this. Does Cam Newton can he make receivers better?
Ask Philly Brown. Where is he right now? Philly Brown is unemployed. You know, ask Ted Ginn. Drew Brees is a better quarterback. I'm not going to even waste my time. It's just what it is. But Drew Brees have Michael Thomas, Willie Snead, Ted Ginn, Fleener, Brandon Coleman. He has Sean Payton. He has
Kamara.
Yeah. Not least of which Kamara.
Yeah, not least of which Kamara. Willie froze up on us. The next thing I do want to talk about this until Willie gets back is the comment about the contract thing. That's a very interesting component to this call. There he is. Maybe. Drop out and drop back in. Aaron, tell me this. The timing of that, was that interesting to you?
Well, not overly, no. And to answer the question, he definitely has an agent. I can't recall the name of his agent at this point, but I've heard discussions about his agent having different connections to different folks, and I'm sure that handled that. There's other players that signed deals going into that. I really don't think that was something that distracted Ron, and I think it's a valid question, but I don't think that played into it as a problem.
Well, one of the things that interests me about it, though, was not necessarily the idea that you're negotiating a contract, but this story floating out there that Ron Rivera may be interested in leaving the Carolina Panthers. like he had the luxury. Yeah, is that he was going to go and take a job with like
that Chicago Bears opening had to have people talking about. You know, he's got pretty deep roots there. That would have been interesting.
But why would you want to leave Carol? I guess the fear of a new owner coming in.
Well, yeah, I mean that's always a question, and then to go back and coach a team that you coached,
that you played for.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that you played for. That's
go ahead and go, man. If you want to go, bounce. Don't let the boy.
I know. I know.
I'm glad
I agree.
I'm just keeping it real. That thought had to be there, but from what I hear, from everything I've heard from him, he loves Charlotte. He's got roots here. He's got no desire to leave.
I think unless you're leaving for a marquee place, which is, to me, the only marquee places are Dallas or New York, maybe Washington. As in,
Chicago got to be a marquee place, though.
You think so?
I think so.
You think that would, in stature, be enough to leave a potentially transformational quarterback to go to a team that has a good tandem of running backs and that's it?
Chicago's a big city. If that's what he wanted to do, I would love to see this team with a head coach like Harbaugh or something like that. But if Ron wanted to go,
Yeah. I mean, I like Ron. I think he's going to give you a steady ship, but I think, again, I'm starting to wonder. And I think this offensive coordinator hire and how it works out will tell us a lot about what Ron Rivera can be. Can he evolve as a coach? And we've seen a little bit of it, but we're not necessarily – we haven't seen maybe enough, quick enough, fast enough. So that was an interesting thing to me. But I could understand the uncertainty surrounding new management coming in, a new GM and new owner, is your ass could be on the street whether you're good or not in a minute because they want to bring in their guys.
Their guys.
All right.
Especially if we get an owner that has experience, like that Ed, what's his name, DeBartolo or something like that?
Right.
The one that used to own the Niners or whatever. If we were to get an owner like that, there's no telling what he will want. I'm pretty sure he's going to want his style of football, you know?
As long as he wants to be in Charlotte, I got no problem with it.
I hear you. Let's keep plowing through these calls.
And so the sun sets on the Panthers 2017 season. It's the YouTube champion, Cody Lashley, Joe Riolano, that freaking Puerto Rican, Tony Dunn, Mel Mayock, we still love you and we're still sending you our prayers, buddy. Man, I don't even know where to start. It's tough, man. It's just really tough. I just want everyone in Panther Nation to just be happy that Cam Newton is your quarterback. Because he put that team on his shoulders and led them downfield at will. And his receivers failed them, and his coaches failed them. But we knew that, though. We knew that was going to happen. And now we have the news that Mike Shula, thank God, has been kicked to the curb. And here comes the North Turner. Oh, my God. I don't know how to feel. It's we have a chance to put a young, offensive-minded coach in our system, and now we're going to move to Norv Turner, or at least that's what the signs are pointing to. And mind you, Norv Turner has not had a top 5 offense in the NFL since 2011. Oh, my bad, not top 5, top 15.
Well, last time he had a quarterback.
It feels like this is to save face with the fan base and say, hey, everyone, changes are on the way. They're coming. Calm your nerves. But Norv Turner is not representative of the change that you want to see here in Carolina. So it's just, it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
I agree.
But no matter what, Panther Nation, we do what? That's right. we keep pounding. Much love, boys.
Hey, this is Gene Pettinelli calling about Cam Newton. You know, I think if he pulled off the 2.5 offense, I think that would give him a good chance to shoot the gap and get more touchdowns, to get more in the red zone if they pulled off a 2.5 reverse offensive play. Those are my thoughts. All right, peace.
All right, can somebody interpret that? A 2.5 reverse offense? Is that what he said?
Yeah, I think that's what he said. Maybe he came from the future. I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't either. I missed it. 2.5 reverse offense.
And that's all we need is a 2.5?
Yeah. Huh? Hey, you know what we needed was a 6.5 win over the Saints. Here we go. I think this is going to be my favorite call tonight. Wait, not this one. Hold on.
This is Lynn Shimlett from LaGrange, Georgia. About time they got rid of the Mike Shula. Now they need to get rid of Ron Rivera because he's a problem too. Cam, I've been saying all this time, Cam is not the problem. It's the coaching staff and some of the players. So I'm letting y'all know I am happy as hell that they finally got rid of that Mike Shula, and they need to get rid of the head football coaching staff too. Thank you. Let's go, Cam Newton.
You're damn right we love Cam Newton. That's the C3 podcast.
Hey guys, I was talking with Joey Riolano about Norv Turner earlier. If you look at his career, he's had 10 seasons with top 10 offenses, and he's had 8 seasons of top 5 offenses. I mean, so he definitely has the pedigree. If you look at where he has the top offenses in his career, it was early on in Dallas. They won a couple of Super Bowls. Washington, they did nothing. And then he bounced around Oakland, Cleveland. But then, of course, later on in San Diego, we had Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinson. And the only reason why Norv Turner never went to a Super Bowl with San Diego is because of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So, I mean, I think he has the pedigree. I think since he works well with Ron Rivera, I think he's worth a shot. Thanks.
I want to point this out. Brent Wilder has the best comment in YouTube chat of the night. Lynn needs to be the new head coach. Lynn from LaGrange. Get it, girl. Yes. That's the damn truth. All right, last call of the night.
This is Lynn Shimlett from LaGrange, Georgia. I've been telling you all this time that Christian McCaffrey is not worth a damn. Whoever said they got drunk, you don't need to be doing that shit. That's bad for you, boy. This is Lynn Shimlett. Thank you, bye.
All right, we got to listen to that again. We got to listen to that one more time, folks. All right, here it comes.
This is Lynn Shimlett from LaGrange, Georgia. I've been telling y'all all this time that Christian McCaffrey is not worth a damn. Whoever that is said they got drunk. You don't need to be doing that shit. That's bad for you, boy. This is Lynn Shimlett. Thank you, bye.
You are the shit, girl. Lynn is what we say is give Logan Cam and give the Panthers to Lynn.
That's our new campaign there.
That shit is the bomb diggity. All right. Let's go ahead and close this show out, guys. The C3 Carolina Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You make this podcast the best, my best Tuesday night, every Tuesday night. It's a great night of the week, as Mel says. And because of you guys, you make football more than a kid's game. It's the fan that does that. We appreciate your support. Follow us, like us, subscribe, share the show, tell a friend about it, call into the Cat Calls line, and maybe even consider donating to the Patreon account. I'd like to thank Mike Frazier for donating to the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast this past week. I know he's donated more than once to this podcast, and I appreciate that very much. And he mentioned a lot of support for you, Mel, in this time of need for you. So we're glad to have you back in the show and all of that, but now we got to get after them, bro. We got to get after these people, and right now it's time for us to ice some people up.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Where's the ice cubes, man?
I just played them. You didn't hear them?
I ain't here.
All right.
I mean, I didn't either.
I played them. They're there.
Okay.
All right.
Clank, clank.
My question is this, Mel. Who you got? First time back
Come on,
in a
Mel.
while. Who you
Been a
got?
long time, man. And first, let me say, all the well wishes, prayers, thoughts, and support. I can't tell you guys out there in the Twitterverse, Facebook, YouTube. I can't tell you what it means to me. So if I say too much about what it means to me, I'll choke up a little bit because that's kind of the guy I am. But thank you all. It's not taken lightly at all. So, but from Ice Up, man, I'm a little rusty here. So I think it's been 6 weeks, 7 weeks since I've been on the show. Way too long.
It's been
Way too long. But I'm just going to go with some low hanging fruit here. That game would have, should have, could have gone a lot better, a lot differently. And we're a momentum team, man. You hit early, boom, you off to the races. The whole game would have been different. You scored touchdowns instead of field goals early on. And, man, Cam Newton was hitting the stride. He's not the best passer in the world. He's not Drew Brees when it comes to – he's never going to be a 70% completion percentage type of passer. But, boy, he put that ball on a rope and hit Kalen Clay right in the hands. And if it wasn't for that punt return against the Jets, Kalen Clay would have no shot at making the team next year after that type of a showing. But
he wouldn't have made it the next week.
Probably not. I tell you, that could have changed the game. We could be talking about the Vikings instead of the offseason and Norv Turner had he made that catch. That would have started a lot more momentum, and who knows where the game had gone from there. So, Kalen Clay, man, go put those hands in a big old tub and ice up, son.
Lynn in the YouTube chat says creative moments. She's glad to have Mel back, but she also ices up Sean Payton. I was wondering this. Did you see this, Willie? Did you see was Kamara passing out damn fruit roll-ups? I think he was giving out players fruit roll-ups is what I think he was handing those dudes, and it was like 3 minutes left or 2 minutes left in the game, and we almost came down and beat their ass. I was about to be like, I'm gonna make fruit roll-up my official snack of the C3 podcast when we beat your ass. I was but he was. I'm telling you, they were eating fruit roll-ups on the side. But Willie, you got an ice up pick for us tonight?
Yeah, I got a nice up pick. Okay, Russell Shepard.
How about
you come in here with your damn locker room motivational speaker. You talk and you say all the right things, and then you go on the field and turn into Ghost Dad. You're one of the only players I asked, like, damn, is he hurt? And he's actually starting.
Yeah.
I expected a whole lot more than nothing. He was a goddamn ball spirit.
Yeah, 0.
So, in all due respect, get your ass off my team and ice up.
And there you
Russell
go.
Shepard.
Yeah, he was tough. My ice up pick this week goes to the Georgia Bulldogs secondary.
Make him hurt.
Gosh, look, let me tell you this, is that my mother-in-law and father-in-law are both Georgia alumni. My wife's grandfather taught at UGA for 40 years, or like 45. It was like, he's 95 years old, and he's like getting towards the end. And last night, he got to witness the opportunity for the Georgia Bulldogs to beat down that ass, and they were. They were beating down that ass. And then they bring in this dang Samoan kid, and he starts pushing down the ball down the field. And at first they look shocked, but then they strike back and they throw haymakers back. And then, how about this? The Andy Pala, whatever his name is, I put out my best tweets. I think one of my best tweets ever was last night during the game. After that kicker, Andy, whatever, he's a Greek dude. He's got like a Greek name or something, like Palawopski or whatever his name, Polopsky or something like that. whatever his name was, and I was like, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft Andy Palowopski in the second round, right? I thought it was the best tweet I ever did, and it got, but they missed that field goal with 3 seconds left, game over, and I'm like, dang, Georgia got a third chance to wrap this up. Twice I felt like they had it, and then in overtime they kick a field goal, and they sack the quarterback, and you're like, I got it. You can't let this dude kick it again. And what do you know? The dang Jesus boy. He's the Samoan Tim Tebow. He's the Samoan Tim Tebow that can throw way better than Tim Tebow ever could. Launches this pass, and like the Georgia Bulldog defenders just said, I ain't going to run with that guy. They thought the damn play was over. And damn it, if the dang Alabama...
They had the fruit roll-ups out?
God. They... You know what? I'm starting to even not dislike Saban anymore. I used to hate him. But, like, man, at some point, I just got to recognize that, like, dang it, your team, they win. So ice up to the Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah, it is. He's up there with Bear Bryant. Joe, you're perfect timing for your ice up pick. Oh, by the way, and I didn't ever say it. Georgia Bulldogs secondary ice up. I think your number was 14. Sorry.
Well, I am harkening back to a ice up pick I made a few months back. Tiffany Matzila.
That's not the crap runner. That's not the poop runner, is it?
Huh?
That's not the poop runner, is it?
Uh-oh. Hold on now. Tiffany Matzila was heading out to breakfast on December 30th when she was shocked to find something outside of her vehicle. She said, I came around getting on the passenger side of the vehicle, and I noticed a huge pile of feces.
Oh, no. How did I know?
It goes on to say that she thought a big dog and an irresponsible owner were to blame for the mess. So she actually went in to check the surveillance camera, I guess so she could find out who the perpetrator was and go complain to that neighbor and make sure that they clean up after their dog. Lo and behold, it was not a dog. It was a person who had been jogging down the street. For whatever reason, decided to run between her two cars and defecated and then ran away.
Damn.
And yes, this is absolutely similar to the case of the Mad Pooper, who gained fame in September after I opened up this can of curiosity.
Is that what it was?
The Panther fans have been doing it for weeks up in Denver. Well, Maxilla went along with her business, but on Wednesday, listen now, please, everyone listen to this. Wednesday, she was shocked to find, as she reached for the handle of her car door, when she grabbed the door, tucked under the handle of the door was a soiled piece of paper towels.
She stashes her paper towel roll there, dude.
So, listen, what this is the guy or woman who was jogging and pooping between her cars that particular day, or I guess night before, brought paper towels to wipe with, and then stuck the soiled paper towels under her door handle. So when she opened the door, she grabbed paper towel with crap all over.
He called the shit poop. He called the shit poop. Oh,
Joe,
sorry.
You got to break out the poo hat for this one, man. You got to get the poo hat on for
her
this.
own terms, she said when she grabbed it, it was vile. Surveillance shows that same jogger defecating again in her driveway and said, listen to this, a number of her neighbors have also reported similar issues.
Oh.
She's the mad shitter.
The neighborhood is calling him the shit bandit.
The shit bandit.
Now.
So who you icing up, Joe?
Oh. So which one are you icing up?
So I am icing up her for not making sure there was crap nowhere on her car, instead of just blindly and stupidly reaching for door handles and ending up with crap on her hand. So ice up, Tiffany.
In the immortal,
looking at door handles the same way. I'm sure she's very cautious now.
Yeah. In the immortal words of Billy Madison, he called the shit poop. He called the shit poop. All right. That's the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Willie, thanks for joining the show. It's been a minute, man. Can you tell everybody how they can follow you on Twitter, sir?
You can find me on Twitter on @PantherNasty and go Panthers.
Word up. Thanks a lot. Good hanging out with you again. Joe Riolano, tell them where they can hit you up.
You can get me on Twitter @Joe Riolano.
Mel Mayock back in the house. We're glad to have our brother back, man. Mel, how can they talk to you?
It's glad to be back, man. And I gotta point out, P Nasty had a little trouble speaking after that ice up, son. So well done, Joe. You just needed to put on the 2 hat for that one. But you can catch me anytime at Panthers Drafter on Twitter. Ready to talk football anytime, and we're going to start some new draft tech mocks coming out next week. Check it out.
My name's Tony Dunn. It's the C3 podcast every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. CarolinaCatChronicles.com on Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcast. Go ahead and give us a subscribe, a share, a thumbs up. Leave a comment. You guys in the chat room are phenomenal, right? Absolutely. You guys make it so that even when we're tired, that we still want to talk Panthers and hang with the homeboys. We'll see you next Tuesday night, folks.